I have two cool old pistols here today. They're both PPKs made by Walther. This one here is a 1966 PPK. As you can see by the blue label, it's the Dural frame or the aluminum, and it's in 7.65 millimeter. This one here is a 1939 standard commercial issue with the steel frame. It also is in 7.65. Both of these are found pretty much how they would have been found back in the day. The 1939, kind of bare bones, leather holster, no fancy paperwork. The 1966 comes with the fancy textured snakeskin box. Has the tag on it here that states what it is. And on the side here has a matching serial number. Go ahead and open them up. Have the manual here for this one. It's a non-import. Doesn't have any of the import markings on the gun. The original manual's in German. Has information, stats, parts, how to take down. Even has some internals here. Manual here again shows the PP versus the PPK. Original box with the internal padding here, if you can call it padding. Little original tool. Then the pre-war commercial standard holster. They're both, of course, unloaded, but safety check. Original magazine. The floor plate on some of the early 60s was plastic and didn't match the grip. That was correct for the time. This one would have had a matching finger extension if it had a finger extension. Of course, this is unloaded as well. Have the original grips for the 39. Would have been the brown marbled. This didn't have any cracks in it. Was in splendid condition. Plus, I liked the way the black looked better, so I went ahead and took the brown off to save it. And I was lucky enough to find a nice pair of original pre-war, post-war black grips, one-piece grips. Has the little metal band on the inside. Safety is a decocker. Both in very nice shape. Found some differences between the two which I thought were interesting that I'll share with you. Can of course tell that the 1961 is a little more elegant. Has this tapered nose here. And then the 1939 has this what they call bull nose. It's just less refined. But they both have tapering on the slide, tapering above the trigger guard. The 30s has a little bit more aggressive taper, but still both very nice. The inner arms and the Smith & Wesson drop that taper. Doesn't look quite as nice, I think. Some of the other interesting differences I wanted to show with you, other than cosmetic, or both functional. Here's the 66 here, and if you look at the magazine well, it's kind of sharp. If you look at the magazine well on 39, it has a nice taper. I'm sure they weren't concerned about speed reloads back in the day, which I find interesting why this had a taper to begin with, which is probably explains why they dropped the taper here on the 1961s. Something interesting though, I thought. The biggest thing that I was curious about was the weight differences between the two guns, so I'll kind of start talking about that. This of course is the Dural frame, the aluminum frame, which is supposed to make it lighter, and of course does, but it's not as substantial as I'd have thought. This weighs in at 12.6 ounces, 12.5, changing thinking. This one weighs in at 14.9, 14.8, so a little bit heavier, but here in a second I'll take them apart and show some interesting differences between the weight difference. Here they are broken down with just a simple field strip. Here is the aluminum frame, no magazine. Weighs in at 6.8 ounces. Here's the 1939. Weighs in at 9.7 ounces. So, noticeable difference. But this is the thing that I thought was most interesting. Here's the 1966 slide with the nice little taper there. That weighs in at 6.2 ounces. Whereas the pre-war slide with the little bull nose weighs in at only 5.4 ounces. Now the parts on these are pretty much interchangeable. I've actually fired both with different slides. This is the correct slide for the 66, the tapered nose, but I'm going to put the bull nose 39 here on it. Everything works. Safety works. Even the magazine works. Here's the pre-war magazine. Locks open, comes out. Then here is now the pre-war 1939 frame with the 1966 slide. Fits right on in there. Safety. Magazine, locks open, comes out. And then with the weight differences, with the frame being heavier on the steel frame and the slide being heavier on the 1966, it weighs in now at 15.9 ounces, almost 16 ounces. Whereas down in the 1966 frame with the Dural aluminum and the lighter 1939 slide now weighs in at 11.4 ounces. And when you hold them both, it becomes more noticeable difference again. But nothing here nor there. Just thought that was interesting. Got them both here together again. Zoom in on them. Both very fine, elegant firearms. Just little differences here and there.